Hello. Hello. Nice to see so many of you here. The verse of the Kesa. Oops. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Got to atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. Fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with the boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight with the meditation. I've actually done this one before, but it's been a while. And I'm going to talk about something that will relates to this meditation. So I'm going to do a very short guided meditation. And this is really an exercise that I think is very useful to learn. So if you're, been meditating a lot, then when the meeting is over, you'll want to sit for 20 minutes or whatever. But if you're new to meditation, or if you're dealing with a lot of stress and that kind of thing, this particular exercise, we could look at it that way, is, I think, very useful. So to start, just get comfortable. So you can really do this anywhere. You don't have to do it at your altar at home. You can do it if you've got just a few minutes at work or school or wherever you happen to be. And you can close your eyes if you're in a comfortable place to do that, or just sort of rest your gaze softly somewhere. And take 3 deep breaths. So just like every time I guide a meditation, let your belly be soft so that your lungs can fill and empty. The breath flows smoothly. And then just let your breath settle. So shift your attention to something coming in through the senses. A sight, a sound, a smell, sensation. It can be your ears on your feet. I'm sorry, your feet on the floor, or the fragrance of the incense in your room. Anything like that. And then orient yourself in time and place. You're here, you're now. So where is here for you? When is now for you? And then just kind of scan your mind and see if there's anything that you've brought with you into this moment that you're better off without. And if so, just set that down. If you're carrying in any anger or anxiety or anything like that, just put that down. And is there anything that you would like to have with you in this moment and that you'd like to carry with you as you go through the remainder of this hour we have together? Any sense of openness, feelings of warmth, kindness, whatever you think would be useful for you to have, bring that into your heart now. And then just turn your attention back to the breath, just for a few breaths. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering candles and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, all answers of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved in the mind, flower, bloom, and eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized. May they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from COVID-19, those protecting them and treating them, and anyone grieving for those lost of this pandemic. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Maha Pranya Paramita. Well, good evening, everybody. I can read what you posted now. Thank you all for being here. Uh, Sorry to hear about Rusty. I hope he's well. I don't have an old truck, but I totally understand the sentiment for sure. Yeah. So the reason I did that particular exercise is tomorrow at Stetson is a thing called Values Day. And we're going to do my team, the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, our team is going to be doing a presentation. Values Day is kind of interesting. They don't have classes for the day, but they encourage students to go to all these different presentations, and they get cultural credit for them. So it's a good opportunity to. They have to have a certain number of cultural credits before they can graduate. So it's a good opportunity to learn those, and it's an opportunity for people in this faculty and staff and so on to present on topics of interest and timeliness. So we're going to talk about time. You're welcome. And so I did that centering exercise because it kind of relates to, well, first of all, it's a stressful time. COVID, democracy, all those things that you've been mentioning to me, plus the ordinary day-to-day stuff. There's a lot of causes for stress. And so that particular thing, I think, is very helpful in sort of doing a quick alleviation of stress. It's not going to completely reprogram your mind or anything like that, but it's a good way to at least temporarily get out of a stressful state of mind. It started. There's a couple of things similar to it that I've been introduced to along the way. So one is in Path of Freedom, which is or was a prison mindfulness institute program, where it's basically a mindfulness-based emotional intelligence program, is the way it's touted. And you take incarcerated individuals and you teach them some things that's useful to them to help them lead better lives inside. And there's a couple of things that are kind of along those lines. And then Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh has something like that. And it was kind of thrown at me one day in a meeting. Hey, would you start off the meeting with a centering meditation? And so I said, well, sure. And so that's what we ended up doing. And I wrote it down afterwards so I'd remember what I did because people really liked it. And so anyway, I've shown it to a lot of people since then, and it seems to be really beneficial to a lot of folks. So the exercise is calming for several reasons, and kind of learning about the reasons why that one works, I think will help you with the rest of your practice. So first, this softening the belly, which we always do at the beginning of meditations. I always tell you to soften your belly. When you relax the abdominal muscles, so the breath can flow freely, it tends to relax the body. So when you're tight, when you're tense, you tend to keep you can't see because where the camera's aimed, but you tend to keep your abs kind of tight. And if your torso is like a cylinder, right? And if it's all tight, then the diaphragm can't expand and contract, which is what causes your lungs to fill in empty. And so the first thing you do is relax your abs, so soften your belly. And then you can breathe freely without forcing it, right? And so this act of softening the belly tends to make you notice where you're carrying other physical tension, and you release that as well. And then plus just taking a few deep breaths
like I said, when you're tense, a lot of times you're not getting enough oxygen. Your breath is all up here, and you're not breathing enough, and all of that. So suddenly you get enough breath, and that relaxes you, and your breath flows slowly and smoothly, and that relaxes you. So this has an effect on the mind also. Gives the mind a chance to settle down. Also, we're paying attention deliberately. So when you're paying attention to your breath, or then once you start to focus on things coming and going through the senses, you're paying attention deliberately. There are neural networks in the brain. The brain's made up of different parts, and so they sort of network together. And so, they'll look at these things they'll attach electrodes to your head and look, see what's going on in your head. And there are certain networks of brain functions that, if they're active, it's associated with states of stress. And then there's another network that, if it's active, it's associated with a state of calm. So when you're paying attention deliberately, that tends to be associated with that state of calmness. So if you'll notice as you go through your day, when you're working on something that really is engrossing to you, you get a fairly pleasant state. You don't notice it's a pleasant state because you're paying attention to the other thing, but you'll actually feel calmer. Your heart rate will usually be slower unless you're doing something that's physically challenging, that sort of thing. And so we're practicing with paying attention in a way that also reduces stress. And so once we give the mind an opportunity to settle down, and we can kind of activate that part of the mind that's engaged with paying attention carefully and calmly, then we start to see the rest of what's going on in the mind and body, and we can relax and settle down even more and actually see more clearly. So when we're focusing on something coming in and out through the senses, then we're focusing on what's happening here and now. That's why in that meditation, I say, orient yourself in place and time. Where is here? When is now? If you're seeing something with the eye or feeling your feet on the floor, things like that, that's happening right now. So if you're paying attention to that, your attention is here and now, right? If I'm looking at something in the future, I can't look at something in the future. I can't look at something in the past. I can think about those things. I can envision them in my mind using mental formations. But as far as actual sensory experience, it's in the present where it's not there, right? So if we're focusing on what's in the here and now, then just that activity tends to get us out of rumination about things that happened in the past or about things that we're worried about that might happen in the future. And so a lot of the stress that we experience as human beings going through a normal day is really associated with having the attention, the mind, somewhere in the past or somewhere in the future. So if you're angry or resentful, where's your mind? It's in the past. You're thinking about, your attention is on something that's not here anymore. If you're worried about something, where's your attention? It's in the future. Your mind is engaged with something that's not here yet. And so when you um, when you take this moment to bring your attention into the present, fully into the present, then you're out of that loop of resentment or whatever and worry. So um, So a part of being calm, is going to be coming to the present and seeing what's going on in the present helps us see more clearly what we're doing that leads to stress and what we're doing that leads away from stress. So let me demonstrate how this works with a story. And some of you have heard me tell this story before, probably, but there's an old Buddhist story about a monk who's walking through the forest and he realizes he's being followed by a tiger. So he starts to walk a little faster. And you realize the tiger has started to walk a little faster too. And the tiger's starting to get a little closer. So he's walking even faster. And then he's running. And finally, he's just running as fast as he can run. And he knows the tiger is catching up on him. And he comes to a cliff. So he starts to climb down the cliff, thinking, oh, good, I can get away from the tiger this way. The tiger can't follow me down the cliff. So he's working his way down the cliff. He gets about halfway down. He hears something below him, and he looks down, and sure enough, there's a tiger down below, too. So there's one tiger looking down at him, licking his chops, and another tiger looking up at him, licking his chops. So he's just really stuck between two bad situations. And he's holding on to a root that's protruding out of the side of the cliff. And he notices that two little mice, a black one and a white one, come kind of crawling out of a crevice somewhere and start chewing on the root. So he's going to have to face one of these tigers inevitably, and there's going to be some suffering involved. But then he notices there's a strawberry, wild strawberry, growing out of the side of this cliff. How amazing. And so he plucks it and he eats it, and it tastes so sweet. Right. So the idea, of course, is that we're always in danger one way or another. There's a tiger behind us, and those things that are consuming us about the past. There's one ahead, those things that we're worried about in the future. And if we let our attention lap, if we let things go and, chew away at our handhold on the present moment, we're going to end up with one of those things. But the strawberries, the good stuff, is right here in the here and now. So the present, that's a pretty good place to be. So this doesn't mean that past and future are not important. There are real dangers, and we want to learn from the past and we want to plan for the future. But we do that in the present. We're always in danger of being threatened by something, but it's not particularly helpful to be doing battle with tigers from the past that you've really left a long time ago, or tigers that may or may not exist in the future, right? That's just not helpful. This also doesn't mean, by the way, that we shouldn't feel things, anger, anxiety, things like that. We don't want to deny our feelings. So the next part of the centering exercise, again, is about what we do in the present moment. And things like anger and anxiety are not particularly helpful to have with us in the present. We really don't need them here. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have them or that they shouldn't arise. We don't need to deny or renounce our feelings. Feelings are natural. Feelings are symptoms, and they're usually symptoms of good things. So, if you're going to do a job, something at work that you've never done before, but you want to do it well, and you're anxious about doing it, you have to give a presentation or something like that, and you're nervous. Well, that's a symptom that you want to do a good job, and that's a good thing about you, right? But we don't want to let our feelings rule us. We don't need to avoid them. We don't need to feel a certain way before we can do things. We don't need to, not feel in a way that we don't like. Feelings arise, but we want to be guided by our purpose. And so this is something else that we need to see clearly in the present in order to figure out what that is. So what gives your life meaning? What is your guiding values, your guiding principles? And if you're letting go of worry and anger and those kinds of things, then you can have a better sense of what the purpose really is. So, and we can feel however we feel and still let ourselves be guided by purpose. If we need to give a talk and we're anxious about giving the talk, well, which is aligned with our purpose? Our anxiety, or what it is that we're trying to accomplish by giving the talk? If we're trying to help others learn about something important for them to know about at work, or the Dharma, or whatever in my case, then that's what's aligned with our purpose. How we feel about it is really kind of irrelevant. We can be nervous and still get up and give a talk, even though it might be unpleasant for a little while to feel that anxiety. We can still do what's purposeful. We can't change the past. There's not any point in trying to do that. There's not any point in living there. You can't fix it. We can't predict the future. There's not any point in trying to do that, right? We can't control it, but we can find a source of meaning and purpose in the present, and we can use that to guide what we do from one moment to the next in order to have something, to have a better future, to have a more meaningful future. And so knowing this, then we can use this attention, this skill of paying attention deliberately in a way that's really beneficial to us. So we can stay calm and focused and keep on our purpose. And then we're guided by our values instead of controlled by our feelings. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hear this a lot, like the key to life is to stay in the present. There's a lot to be said for being in the present, but that's really kind of not the whole story. And so I hope that this was helpful and give you something to think about. Wow, it's only 7:30. Any questions? Anything anyone would like me to talk about? There's 13 of you here tonight. And 2 of you have liked this already. That's exciting. Well, so just a couple of things. So, oh, good. I'm so glad. You'll have to tell me in the Zoom call what you mean by a truck having a heart attack. That could mean it has to have a whole new engine, or that could mean just needs a new carburetor. or maybe just a little cleaning out of the fuel lines. Anyway, it's actually kind of nice to see someone who's keeping an old vehicle on the road. So many of us just turn them over when we can. And I keep thinking maybe my next one, I should just plan on it being the one that's going to last me for the rest of my life. Instead of getting cheap cars that, you have to replace, get something that's really good that you feel like maintaining. But anyway, so I'm glad that's going to work out. So a couple of things to be thinking about. So tomorrow we have our regular Zoom meeting at 6. And then tomorrow is Lunar New Year's Eve. So at 11:30 Eastern time, we'll get together and we'll talk about, we'll do basically the service that we just did. And then we'll sit for a bit in silence. And then I'll ring the bell a bunch of times at midnight and then brew some tea in advance so that we can have some tea together and just talk about whatever we want to talk about, just fellowship. So if you're not getting the emails with the Zoom links, email me at volusiabuddhist.org and I'll tell you how to get there. I'm sorry, volusiabuddhist@gmail.com, which you can also find that from our website. So thank you very much. Try not to spend all night watching the impeachment trial. Or if you do, meditate before you go to bed so you don't go to bed having nightmares about that stuff. All right? So again, thank you very much. Have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.